one of my questions, but it kind of feels like maybe the All-Star selection answered it. I was going to ask who your MVP has been of this pedestrian Rangers team thus far. Does the All-Star selection to you automatically make it Jacob deGrom? Was it already Jacob deGrom for you, or do you think it's somebody else entirely?
I do want to go back, and this helps me revisit what Sean and RJ were saying this morning. The MVP, because he's an all-star, is Jacob deGrom. The offensive MVP, Josh Smith, being that
that's probably where I'm at, too.
He's the best hitter of the bunch, although Marcus Semien, he's been on a tear.
Agreed.
And he's back. Now, how bad it was to start, he knows. So I think that's kind of where deGrom has been fantastic. I think you could point to a couple. You've been all about Milner this year.
Yes.
I'm surprised you haven't made him the MVP of this team.
He's had a trip up or two as of late.
It's a middling team this year.
That is a good way to put it.
I will probably always throw out Eovaldi because of the heart. And I know that doesn't matter as much as the fact that deGrom will step out there and probably give you 7 strikeouts, if not more. And even though he's on a pitch count, which is pretty close, around 81, and maybe he's gone up just a little bit.
It was remarkable. He had 4 straight starts. There were 81, 81, 81, 82 pitches.
And the 82 we're still out on because we're not sure they got it right.
I thought that was pitch 81.
But I would go with Eovaldi, but I know he's been hurt a little more. So that's the tough part there. Offensively, though, nobody's been consistent. Even Josh Smith, as good as he's been, and I'm saying good, he's a leadoff hitter. He's hitting well as a leadoff hitter. Nobody's been truly consistent or clutch when it matters the most.
Okay, so let's talk about Josh Smith for just a second, because that is one of my candidates. But by the way, just so you know, on my list outside of deGrom, it was Josh Smith, who we're about to talk to, Tyler Mahle before he got hurt, and Hobie Milner before he had a couple of trip-ups. So the fact that, the biggest disappointment, we had so many candidates. But for MVP, it feels like it would be this person except. That's not good. Mm-mm. And so let's talk about Josh Smith. He's the offensive MVP of the Texas Rangers, which is what I think as well. He's hitting .283 with an OPS of 774. So
it's not great.
No, it's not world-beating numbers or anything like that. And to the statistic that you brought up earlier, 8 home runs and 22 RBIs. And so, there is nothing overwhelming about that. And I made the case last week, maybe the week before, that Josh Smith should be an all-star. And I love what he does for this team. I want him to get recognition, but there's no question that Jacob deGrom is actual in all-star level of I'm showing that I'm one of the best in the game. Where Josh Smith is showing that I am invaluable to this Rangers team, but there's other people like me around the Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was trying to look, too, to see, and the Astros have, 2 players that are hitting 300+.
Which is rare.
And Altuve's even hitting games. 272, which is pretty close. And he's got more home runs than Josh Smith. It irritates me that the Astros are good at baseball right now.
Very.
When they shouldn't be this year. They should be down.
Do you want to know what's really agitating? When they defeat the Dodgers 18-1 over the weekend, and pretty much all of your in-laws and their family are Astros fans.
Oh, why would you marry in that family?
Look.
Your answer is because the person you married is amazing. That's the first thing you should have said. I got taken away by how pretty and smart that Jess was, and I lost sight of problematic in-law issues. They're lovely people outside of that Astros thing, and they were wearing Astros gear, and I didn't like it. I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that you made your mind up you were going to marry her before you knew they were Astros fans. Whether that's true or not, I've decided that.
Look, you wouldn't make up your mind after the fact. I found out they're Astros fans. That changes the dynamic. But it was too soon.
I was just kind of looking at their stats to compare, because Josh Smith at 283, that's the best batting average on the team. And that's why you are where you are in this division right now, because that's the best batting average you have on this team. And we want it to be Wyatt, but Wyatt has underperformed to our standards.
Agreed.
Even though 13 home runs leads the team. Wow. To our
that's
standards,
not great.
But he's also not playing like an all-star outfielder.
Yeah.
Like all-star outfielders have significantly different numbers. The entire slate is the same way, and you're right. Jacob deGrom is, I would think Eovaldi could be, but Jacob deGrom's the only one that you can go, he could be the best. He's the best on his team. He could be the best in baseball.
I want to make sure it's clear. I'm not naysaying Nathan Eovaldi because, first of all, doing so ever would be pure foolishness.
Yeah.
But I do wonder if he would have gotten those 3 more starts in, that would have kind of put him
in it all the time.
Yeah, in the qualifying category, because
I just want to keep putting his name in the conversation because we feel that way about him.
Absolutely. Look, he's got an ERA that is .38 better than Jacob deGrom. He has a whip that is .04 better than Jacob deGrom. So if he had those 3 extra starts to kind of put him in that qualification territory, absolutely, he would be in the mix, and I think both of them would have been all-stars. But I go back to this, and I know we talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the show. Think about this. Think about all of the offensive issues that you just talked about. And I go back to this because I want to point out how freaking amazing the pitching has been. The Rangers were they 1 game? They're 1 game below 500. Or excuse me, 2 games below after the loss to San Diego last night. They're 2 games below 500. They could easily be at or above 500 going into the All-Star break, despite the fact that we talked about offensive disappointments across the board, despite the fact that the Rangers' OPS with runners in scoring position is 645. That is the 3rd worst in all of baseball. The only teams that you're ahead of are the Kansas City Royals and the Chicago White Sox. Now, I know the Chicago White Sox bring this number down, but those 2 teams are combined 73 and 108. And so that's where you are with horrid hitting with runners in scoring position all season long. Look at these last 9 games. The reason why you're losing those extra inning games is you can't get a hit, let alone a productive at bat, out of this whole thing. But it's the pitching that has kept you at 500, which I'm going to go back to time and again because I think it is the best Rangers starting pitching I've seen in my entire life, and that is not hyperbole.
Well, I mean, name another pitcher that you've had on this team that's even close to deGrom.
And so you have to go a ways back, but the person that I think of in these scenarios, like obviously more recently, is Yu Darvish. Okay. I think he could fit in that category. But the other person I thought of is Kevin Brown, because there was a time, like if you're not an early 90s Rangers fan or you're too young or whatever, man, there was a time that Kevin Brown
was dominant.
He was the stuff. But the fact that you might have 2 of them at the same time?
Eovaldi I kind of put in that Cliff Lee category.
Cliff Lee is another really good one.
But as great as Cliff Lee was, I still think of deGrom as just a tick higher.
I could see that.
And I know a lot of people might look at deGrom and go, well, what are you talking about? When you watch him pitch, when you look at the numbers when he's healthy, take out the health part. When he's healthy, he's untouchable a lot of times.
To kind of tie it into our next topic, Jacob deGrom to me is Terrell Davis. When on, almost untouchable.
With Eovaldi, it's like, I know I'm going to get tough innings out of him, and there are going to be spells. There might be days where you're like, man, nobody's hitting that splitter today. He's got his stuff, and he's going to give you those. You might get a run. You might get a couple hits off of him. He's going to give you those kinds of outings. deGrom, was it last night? The manager was for San Diego was like, it's fascinating to watch Machado make things look easy. This is a very difficult game, and he makes it look easy. deGrom makes this game look easy.
Yeah.
Eovaldi makes it look like he's working his butt off, even though he's really good at what he does. That's just the way it looks when I watch him pitch. He just looks like I'm up here sweating and working because that's what we do in Texas. You know, that kind of feel. He looks very blue collar to me. So that's what the vibe I get off of Eovaldi.
And that's what makes the season so confusing and so maddening. We go through all of those amazing pitching things, And if you didn't know the offense, you'd be like, hell yeah, make another addition, pick up that piece in the bullpen or whatever you need, and let's go win the World Series. And then you see the whole picture, and you watch the offense time and time and time again when it looks like they're going to pick it up.
It's
just kind of sputter out. And I'm not just talking about last night. They only scored 1 run. I get that. I'm talking about going back to Friday night, and before that, the Monday, the Sunday, the Saturday, where you're stuck in all of these extra inning games, and you can't do anything outside of Doley, Simeon, and Seager in those games, in that run in extra innings. Your lineup is 0 for 24.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even 3 for 24 would be terrible.
You're hoping that you're hoping somebody gets on enough times to send you down around to those guys, and then, Kevin, those guys aren't going to succeed every time. So, like, everything else around it, you're concerned about, and we just pointed out the 4 and 5 hole hitter, how much of a disparity that is. That guy's going to show up in the lineup in moments that need power a lot, and a lot of times those numbers are poor for whatever reason with this team.
So, for everybody who wants the Rangers to be sellers at the deadline, I absolutely get it. It is just hard for me, as we're all lifelong fans of the Rangers, it is just hard for me to go ahead and concede another season when outside of the 2023 season, when you went and won the World Series, you've done nothing but concede.
And concede a season when you have those two pitchers as dominant as they are.
It feels absurd.
You may never get another deGrom season like this. And I don't say that.
No, I get it,
because
I don't think you're wrong.
We don't know how often he will be healthy. You get him this year, and it could be a waste.